said something when we were chatting before, something I found really interesting about you, and you just said it in passing before we came on the air. You were telling me about this thing called Play It Forward. So besides for writing books and all that you're into, you also are doing this Play It Forward thing. What's this all about?
A little background is part of my happiness thing is to just find ways to live my values. And I have always had an enjoyment of sports and athletics and activity, and I love that people, and children in particular, are active. And we live really close to a park, and nobody ever was really in the park. And one day I came up, and somebody had left a ball in the park, and they just wrote on it and said community ball. And it was a basketball, and they sat it next to the basketball court. And I looked at that, and I said, that's interesting. And you know, my husband and I looked at it and said, you know, it'll last a couple of weeks and somebody will steal it. And sure enough, 2 weeks later, the ball was gone. But I just could not get that little ball out of my mind. And I said, you know what? I love that concept that we could put a ball out and let people play. No strings attached, no nothing. And so I went out and I bought a basketball, and when I labeled on it, I said, you know, this is a community ball. Please leave the ball in the park. You know, in kind of big, you know, I took a Sharpie and just wrote it out, and we left it there. And it was remarkable. People came by, and they would look at the ball, and then they would, like, look around, and then they'd be like, okay, and then they'd play for a while, and then they'd put it back on the bench and walk away. And I was like, this is awesome. This is so cool. And we had a bunch of kids coming from, like, high school, like it was they were just a group of kids, and they were out playing and flirting with each other, and it was just so darn cute, and they played with the ball. And one guy, he works over at the local high-tech firm, and he'd come by every day in his suit, take off his jacket, put down his briefcase, make about 10 shots, and then, you know, put on his suit, pick up his briefcase, and walk to work. And I was like, that's so cool. And it just became, kind of took on a life of its own. So here we are, 2 years later. Nobody is still involved, and now the neighbors, it's just become part of the community. We have 6 balls there now. We have a couple basketballs, a couple footballs of different sizes, a soccer ball, and it's just, now it's just part of the park, and and sometimes people will come up and ask and say, well, what is this? And I say, well, we just put the balls out. And the only thing we do, we label them so that people know that they should keep them in the park. And the other thing that we do is take them in at night, because if somebody comes by in the middle of the night and bounces the ball, it makes a really loud noise and wakes up the neighbors, and that's not a polite thing to do. So we decided part of our thing is to just bring the balls in at night. And like if the weather's really, really bad, we might not put the balls out. We just bring them out in the morning. So it gets us out in the community every day, just making sure the balls are there. And is
there a website for this?
Yeah, playitforward-us.com, because it turned out Play It Forward was actually a website that was quite popular for musical instruments for some reason. So playitforward-us.com is the name of the website, and you can go there, and it kind of just introduces the idea. And, you know, the one thing you have to realize, it's like anything in life. You put it out there, and the ball may get stolen. You know, it may not work out.
I like
well.
it. That's a good moral. You should write that one down.
Yeah, you do. It's in there. And it's like, look, you know what? Sometimes it happens. That's just the way it is. And if you know what? If you get a couple balls stolen, don't do it anymore, because it's not working where you are. And sometimes it will work, and sometimes it won't work. And the idea is, it just gives kids an opportunity to play. We have so many people in the park. There are so many people in our park now, and they are playing all the time. And it is wonderful. And it just makes me feel good every day to see that happen.
Well, I think it's a great idea, and the reason I was asking about the website, do you think this is something that could get started in other parks, or has it already got started in other parks?
I had an email from a person who said, I saw your website on television. I love this idea. How about if I put a bike in the park, or a fishing pole by a lake, or a skateboard at a skate park? And I was like, I didn't have any idea that somebody has picked this up someplace. I don't even know where this person's from. They picked it up, and it's on TV someplace. And I just wrote it back and said, these are wonderful ideas. People are so creative, and it's so affirming about people. And I think I guess my philosophy is that people are wonderful, and if you give them a chance to be wonderful, they are. There are a few who aren't, and that happens too. But for the most part, my experience is that people are wonderful, and just do things to help make everything great for them, or to help them play and enjoy life and be part of a community. And I love it when I see a 13-year-old kid go out and play with that ball and play, and then put it down and walk away. We think of kids being like, they just steal stuff and do stuff. Nope. And if you give them the opportunity to be fabulous, they just might surprise you and be really fabulous.
Hey, I think you're fabulous. You're inspiring us in all different kinds of ways, from doing nonfiction to fiction to putting balls in the park. And we appreciate you being a guest on the show. You have been fabulous. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. This has been so enjoyable, and I must say that just what a treat that this idea of the Kind Voice Radio is just also an affirming thing about looking for the goodness in people, and it's wonderful, and I'm just pleased to be a part of it, and I'm so glad that these things like this exist out there for people to just get ideas and do things that are just good for being a human being in the world. I like it. So thank you so much.
Hey, you're the best. Thank you. Hey, it was great having Ann on the show. We're going to have her back on because she's so positive and says nice things about your kind voice and our kind voice, but just has so much interesting stuff to say. If you'd like to be a guest on our program, please go to www.outkindvoice.org/guest-information and tell us about how you use your kind voice to make a difference in today's world.
Kind Voice Radio.